I would cry on my way to work. I would cry while I was at work, and I would cry on my way home.
Lost a finger off it or something, wasn't
it? I didn't lose my finger. So let me remind you that you're not alone, right? Let me remind you that there are people there for you. Let me remind you that you can change. You have to remember that, whatever's holding you back, and I believe, that's just the enemy. But whatever that's pulling you down, that's because there's something super great that's going on in your life, really, and you got to fight through that.
Inspiration Nation, hello, it's Joe Noya here. Another week on the podcast. There's no Lee, no Ryan this week because we have another guest. Would you believe? Yes, we do have another guest on the podcast. This week, I've got Angela on the podcast. Got lovely Angela, who is a life coach, a tremendous life coach, and also does a live show on Instagram, IG, as Live with Angela. IG Live with Angela. And I've been so fortunate to go on the show. We've had a couple of good discussions, really deep discussions. So I just wanted to get her on and talk about a little bit about her story, how she got started and all that. And I think she'd be great. And so I've got Angela for you this week. So how are you doing, Angela? How's things going?
So much, Joe. I'm doing well. Thank you. And I'm very glad to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate you inviting me on.
You're always so appreciative, aren't you? You're so humble. It's lovely. It's so nice. And it's literally so nice to have someone, that's so humble, but gives so much as well. So I'm really pleased to have you on. More than happy. It's fantastic. And I think it's lovely to share with our audience, such a gift you have in terms of how you speak to people and stuff like that. So I thought it'd be great. So I just wanted to sort of get you on the podcast, find out about your story, because I think it's, I know you help a load of other people, and it's great. And I just want to get our audience to understand, where you're coming from, how you help people, what I suppose inspired you, because Inspiration Nation, right? What inspired you to get started on this journey, because it's really exciting. I know we've had some great discussions. So let me just start. So I don't really know your story. Like, I know we've talked, we had these once a week for a bit, for about 2 or 3 weeks. And then, we didn't really talk about you, and I think it's really important that, you get that opportunity to tell our audience your story. So just tell me a bit about your story, how did it all start, where it was come from. Start right at the beginning and let us know.
You're so awesome. So what do you want to know about the IG Lives with Angela?
Wait, before that, why you got into life coaching? What happened? What made you do it? And then go into the IG Live, absolutely 100%, because I think this is the sort of the incarnation of all that. And I'd just love to know what built up to that. What made you do it all? Because we all have these moments, I think, or building up of moments. And I'd just love to share with the audience what that would be, what that's like for Angela.
Well, I think I've always had, I've always had just a desire to serve people. I've always had a desire to know about people on a deeper level, than just, I've always had a very curious, I've always been very curious about people in general. Just, I love people. I love to just get to know people. And my natural, I think my natural thing is to serve people with just my, is to serve people. I don't know. It's hard for me to talk about myself. This is one of the things I struggle with, is talking about myself. But one of the things that I've discovered about myself is I love to serve people. And whether that's just through words of encouragement, really has been the thing that I found most that's just what I do. And so I thought I wanted to be a psychologist. I thought I wanted to go to school and be a psychologist. I thought I wanted to have I thought at one point I would have a counseling agency and, hire counselors, not be the actual counselor, but hire counselors and then run that agency. And then the more I just discovered about myself through personal, growth and awareness and things like that, it just opened up this whole thing about, I feel like my world opened once I started really discovering, about personal growth and things like that. And so I joined a mastermind, and that was it for me. Once I did that, then it was just, I couldn't look back. I was just, I knew at that point that there was so many things that I didn't know that I needed to know. And I just had to continue to pursue everything I wanted to invest in myself as much as possible to find out who I really was and what could I give the world. And so I had to continue to just pursue personal growth. And by joining the mastermind, that helped me. That really helped me a lot, to realize a lot of things about myself that I wasn't aware of. And once I started realizing that there was something special that I had to give, and once I started accepting that, because for me, I have a real hard time validating myself. And so once I decided that, you know what, yes, I do have the gift of encouragement, then how will I use that to bless others, and how will I serve that? And so it's just, from there, I started pursuing more and more into just personal growth, and then, getting my coaching certificate and things like that. So, yeah.
Good. So you said you discovered your gift of encouragement, you said, and you went to a mastermind, but what triggered you to do that? Like, because you did counseling. So again, suppose what triggered you to start to think, I want to get into psychology? You said people and stuff like that. Was there anything there that triggered you to get into psychology? And then from the psychology, what triggered you to get into the mastermind? Walk us through that a little bit.
I think just psychology, probably because I've always been interested in how the behavior of people, like what makes people do the things they do and why do they do it. And I always believed in people. I always thought that we don't really give people enough credit, for we don't give people enough credit. It's almost like, humans are good. We just need to provide the space and the place for them to grow into themselves, because I don't know. I love just the behavior of people. I love culture. I love, what makes a good culture. And then, so that's how the whole, leadership and development, all that stuff, it sort of started. I started realizing, wow, this is bigger than just personal growth. This is, leadership and all, I don't know. Psychology has always been very interesting, to me. And I took a psychology class, and it wasn't even like it was a 5-week class, and I made a B in the class, but it was 5 weeks. It was too fast, too much, to learn. And but I don't know. I have this personalities and things like that. All the Myers-Briggs and the different testings of. I enjoy the assessments and really why people are the way they are, because it makes sense once you start breaking that stuff down. You start realizing, wow, we're all so different, but then we are so much the same too. So
Love that. Yeah, because I know we talked a little bit on your IG Live about your ham story. You had a job about the ham story, so you did that. So you tried a few other things though before jumping into. I don't know whether the ham story comes before the psychology, after the psychology, but give us a little bit of a taste as to what were you doing before all that? Like, was you working in? You said you worked in a store and you lost a finger off it or something, wasn't it?
I didn't lose my finger.
So like you recognise, I think the whole thing I'm trying to get to, I suppose, is like what started you on this whole journey. Like you recognise that cutting ham. Chopping up ham, giving it to people isn't your thing, right? Though it's serving people, right?
Yes. It's funny that yes, that was such a good, oh my gosh. Yeah, I didn't realize like how, for me, it was always, oh, what am I good at? I know what I'm bad at. I know what I'm good at, but I don't know what I'm good at. I know what I'm bad at. I know what I don't want, but what do I really, but what do I want? Is there something out there for me? I'm not good in school. I'm not a good reader. I'm not a good, always telling myself, I'm not good at this. I'm not good at that. I can't do this. I can't do that. But for so many years, we were taught, at least I focused on well, if you're not good in school and you don't know math and you don't know this and you don't know that, then you're pretty limited and you don't really have, you're going to just have a life of being, you know, you're just not going to really be successful in your life, because, you can't do this or that. All those things that we think, what we believe about success. And I think once I took the job at the ham store, and I had to do that because I needed the money, and it was less than minimum wage. And so once I started doing that, I realized that, oh my God, I cannot. And this was during the time of going through, the masterminds. I realized that there has to be, there is more. I would cry on my way to work. I would cry while I was at work, and I would cry on my way home. And that's not even that's not even exaggerating. I was so miserable. And while I wasn't at that job for very long, I learned so much. And yes, I did, almost I cut my fingers every single day at that job, cleaning the knives and the cutlery, and I'm trying to make the salads, and it was just a mess. And but I was thinking about that, because I was listening to someone, and I can't remember exactly who it was now, and he was talking about how when he had a job that he didn't necessarily love the job, but because the leadership was so good, he still grew in that position. And for me, I didn't have that at all. The leadership, the leadership or the management or the ownership didn't take any interest in me at all. If they had of, I'm very curious to think now what would have happened, because when I first started that job, I thought, okay, maybe I can do the catering, maybe I can do the marketing, maybe I could do, I wanted to be face to face. So I had ideas about how I could, maybe grow in that position, even though I knew I did not like being in the food industry at all. But if someone had taken some time, the leaders, right, and had invested in me as much as, they focused on what I was doing wrong, then I think maybe I could have grown in that. So I think that's why it's so important to have good leadership wherever you are. If you don't like a job, that's great, and you realize that. But if someone's investing in you, then they'll see your potential, and then they'll encourage you to move out of that job into something that suits you. And that's the type of leadership that I think, that we need more of in our work environments, because otherwise we're staying in a position where there's no thriving going on. There's no success really. Anyway, I'm just.
No, it's really lovely, because the things that sort of stuck out for me from that conversation, you said, I was saying to myself, I'm no good at this, and I'm no good at maths. Where did that come from? Was that yourself, or was that an environment, or was it the school? Not naming any schools, but what was it that you thought maybe been a trigger for those types of, I suppose, self-doubt, the self-talk, right? Because it comes from somewhere. We know we have it. We all have it. We try new things, but a lot of it comes from, some of it can come from our environment. I just want interested to know, where did that come from? Because, it sounds like that was a really tough time for you, because there's a lot of self-doubt there.
Yeah. I just was never a good student. Like you just could not put me in the box of, I didn't learn the way that I was taught. Nothing really, it just didn't stick. I think too, I had a lot of childhood stuff going on, from a very early age. And I'm sure that had a lot to do with just my learning overall. But and that's probably what made it difficult for me to understand the way that I saw others understanding. But, I never really, I just really didn't ever really do well in school. When I look back on school, I think, some people say, well, who's the teacher that think of that one teacher, right? I don't have one of those teachers. What I do have though is and this is, the frustrating part for me was that I always felt like I was smarter than the teachers. You know, I always felt like, why isn't anyone asking me the questions? Like, why isn't someone asking me what we should be doing? You know, I always felt like, just ask the students. You know, but I did have a teacher that I had missed 56 days of school my senior year of high school. I don't know how I even graduated. I know that they just let me go through. But my English teacher said, you know, if you don't pass this test, you know, if you don't make an A on this exam, then you will come back here next year as a senior. And so I studied and I made an A and I passed. And she was, you know, she said, you know, you could have been doing this all year. And it's probably true. I could have. But I didn't, there was not a lot of, I just felt like school was just, you know, I just learned a different way. I wanted to be talked to. I wanted to be, you know, someone to show interest in me and not just my ability to do what they put in front of me. And while I know that school is important and all those things, it still, to this day, I'm like, it breaks my heart to know that we're still sort of doing the same thing that we did, you know, 20 years ago to these students. You know, I see the struggle in my son. While my daughter she's in the box. I mean, she's created the box too. You know, she's fits so well inside the box and very smart, very academic. But it's frustrating because there's no alternative to the kids that don't learn that way. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing, isn't it? And I think that's probably what I wanted to get at is what was caused. You know, not that was the only cause. You said there's other things that went on, but it's a factor, isn't it? And I think, you know, when we look at schools, you know, they're very much linear, and it's interesting. I saw this video, and I can't remember the name of the guy who did a speech on it, but it was created in the Industrial Revolution. That's how old this system is, and now we're in this revolution of information. And what I love about your story, Angela, is that even though you said, I can't do this, I can't do that, you know, you're doing this, right? You come to this stage, you're doing this, right? And I think there's a lot of hope to give people, whoever's listening, that might be saying these things to themselves, I can't do this and I can't do that. That actually can change the script, you can change the story. And I think that's an inspiring message, you know, that, you know, you're out there, discovered, you know, you tried lots of different things, you tried the ham store, that doesn't work, but what if the leadership had changed? Would you still be in the ham store? You may be. But actually, through all that struggle, all that difficulty, you've come through and you're now doing your own coaching business, and you're now like doing your own, you know, IG Live with loads of other people. And I think it's quite an inspiring thing. And I think that for me is, you know, one of the keys that I think a lot of people take away is that, you know, look at that self-talk, you know, look at it and actually realize that you can change it. And I think, you know, with the help of coaching, all that type of stuff, it can be helped. And I think that's what I liked about it. I know we talked about the ham story, and I know the leadership thing we're very keen on as well. I know we talked about it before, and and I think leadership's very important. So you said that if the leadership had looked after you, may not have been doing this, who knows, right? But thank goodness they didn't, because now you're doing this.
Yes, I love this so much. I love being able to, you know, and that's the thing about me is that, you know, I grew up in a very small town, and, you know, very small town. And I knew that I did not want to live in that town when I grew up. And so I left at 18 and I didn't go to college. I started to go to college 4 days. So I didn't do well in school. So I'm like, why am I going to go to college? But I went to a community college for 4 days, and it was not, I knew that's, you know, that it didn't work. So, but I went to an airline school instead. And, you know, I thought I wanted to be a flight attendant. I did want to. I wanted to work for Qantas. And while that didn't work out, I did work for the airlines for many years. But at a young age, I had a lot of ambition. Like you know, there are things about me that I know now that have made me, you know, what I am today. And that's perseverance. I know that's one good quality that I have, that I never give up. There's certainly tons of self-doubt, you know, that wrap around that perseverance, but my perseverance always seems to break through that. And I'm so grateful for that that's just in me. I've always been very curious. You know, I'm very curious about stuff, and I think that's helped me grow. So once I started realizing some of those core things about myself, that helped me realize that, you know, I can do other things. I can do whatever I want to do. And, you know, especially when you have people around you that are encouraging you. The thing that for me is that when I start, it's like right now with just, you know, what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. And that's the frustrating part. I'm like, okay, well, I'm doing something. I'm moving. I've got some movement here. But because I feel like I lack in so many areas that are sort of important when you're moving towards something, you know, even like writing the little blurb, I didn't do that. My daughter did that. Like to sit down and actually write something out. I told my daughter, I'm like, that would take me about 1.5 years to write 2 sentences about myself, because it requires me to have confidence, and it requires me to sit still. It requires me to really think about how I'm touching others and you know, where I'm going. So there's so much in that. And for me, it's just, it's hard for me to do that. And so when I start thinking about what's coming, I don't know. And that's why I need so much to be able to have people around me. I even hired a coach. I've hired a coach myself, somebody that can help me. But, you know, and that was about 1.5 months ago. And we haven't had our first session, Joe. So I don't know. I need help. And, but I love doing the lives, and I appreciate you asking me to come on here, because I'm still trying to understand why. So.
Well, you want to help people. I mean, that's what I'm getting. You know, it's literally you just want to serve people, and it's so refreshing that, you know, you get genuine people like yourself just wanting to help people, and that's the sort of people that I want on the podcast, because, you know, we get all these other people that are really high profile, but I think there's so many other people that are just trying their best to help people, and I think, you know, that's why I want to give, you know, people like yourself that more exposure to our audience, because I think it's so important, because there's so many good people out there, and I think there can be a little bit of a negative connotation, the world's all bad and all that sort of stuff that pervades and everything, especially now what we're going through at the moment. And I think there can be a lot of cynicism, and sometimes it's justified, maybe. It just depends. But I think, like you say, I think very much on your way of thinking, that I think generally humans are good. I think it's the behavior, separating the behavior from the human being. You know, there's a reason for behavior, and I think that's what you're alluding to. What is the reason that person's doing that? And I think that's a real curious thing to be asking, because there's a lot of stuff that we've made on the surface go, that is terrible, but actually what's gone on behind, what's the story behind that? And that's what I've learned in the journey, and that's what you're, you know, giving me again over this podcast, is that you're getting me to think and, you know, suspend that judgment, which we can all really fall into. We can do it automatically, and I think we just got to step back from that, and I think that's really important. And I just wanted to go back to, I didn't know this, but you said you were going to be an airline stewardess, right? Is that right? With Qantas. So hang on. So what came first? Was it college, Qantas, ham?
Was it
college, Qantas, right? Okay.
It was college 4 days, and then it was it was college, and then it was Qantas, sort of all at the same time, like wanting to work for Qantas. I didn't work for Qantas. So in high school, you know, I'm, you know, trying to figure out what I'm gonna do with my life. So signed up for college, went 4 days. And I think in that during the summer before going back to school, I think that's when I knew that I wanted to work for the airlines. And all I knew about the airlines was being a flight attendant, which back in that day, it was being a stewardess. So I said, you know what, I want to be a stewardess. And so I heard on my way to work, because I was working, actually this is my senior year of high school. And I remember I was working, and I remember hearing an ad on the radio, and the advertisement was to go to this airline school, and you can learn how to do, you know, different things to work for an airline. So I signed up for the school. I moved to Maryland, and my parents literally dropped me off and left the same day. So
wow.
Yeah.
Off you go.
Like, all right, here you go. So drop me off. You know, I had a place to live and everything, but and so I went to the school. The school was only for 3 months. It was a 3-month training. They had placement, you know, career placement. So I wanted, well, what they would do is they would bring the airline industry into the school, and they would interview you. And so Qantas came to the school, and I was 18. and they came to the school and they were interviewing for flight attendants. And but unfortunately, you had to be 23 years old before you could be a flight attendant with Qantas at that time. Not sure why. Didn't really, dig to find out. So I went to I continued the school, and Delta was hiring before. So I didn't get to do the Qantas thing, which I would have loved to have done. I wanted to move to Australia. But I ended up working for Delta Airlines in reservation sales. So I wasn't ever a flight attendant, but I did work in reservation sales and ticket office and things like that. So I did that for almost 8 years, and
Wow.
I did that, and it was a great opportunity. It was a great opportunity. I learned so much, and I think, and this is what I share with my friend a lot, is that I think my very first discovery of personal growth was by John Maxwell, because I think I'm pretty sure he had written a small little booklet for Delta, and it was one that was just sort of given out to the employees. And so it was just a little inspirational thing, as a little leadership stuff, but it just sparked my heart. And then, and I think that's when I discovered, really like my heart for leadership, for people, for personal growth, that sort of thing is where that probably stemmed from. But it was so long ago, and I don't have the book, and not even really sure, but I've sort of been, trying to trace back, where did all this, who am I? So
Yeah, I think that's really powerful, though, isn't it? The fact that you picked up the book and it made you think about it, and then that's where it started. So with my heart, right? So that's what that's the key. And again, it's all led up to that moment. I mean, it's that the school, not being good at school, and then want to be an airline attendant, and then 8 years of selling, right, and then going through that. But again, that little booklet is the sort of, it's probably been some sort of journey up to that point. So then after that, so you realised, so what made you leave the airline?
So I left the airlines. Delta was closing, and so they acquired another airline, and then they closed that office. So I at that point I wanted to stay in Maryland, and so I started working for Saturn, and I knew that I wanted to sell cars. I wanted to sell Saturns.
Okay. I was going to ask, what is Saturn? It sounds like some sort of planet.
Oh wow! Okay, yeah. So Saturn was a car company.
Okay.
You know who General Motors is, right?
Yeah.
I think they owned Saturn, something like that. So yeah. So but what I liked is that they had, and I've always been drawn to advertisement. So I saw one of their ads, and it was a woman selling cars, and I thought, wow, you never see that, And so I'm like, I want to do that, because there was no price negotiations with Saturn. The price was the price. So you didn't have to worry about haggling and all that scary, horrible stuff. So what I did was I started working as a receptionist first. And I didn't try to be a car sales lady, right off the bat. I said, you know what, let me go in and see if this is a company that I want to work for.
Nice.
And so I started as a receptionist, and one of the managers there was just, it was all pretty good, but one manager there in particular was a fantastic leader. He was just so awesome. The way that his approach, his just everything, he was always so good about turning it back to you, and talk, a good leader, and so I respected him so much. And then I became a salesperson, and it was awesome. And I wasn't the greatest salesperson, but I loved selling cars. I loved being with people. Saturn was really good because they had really good, their mission statement was really good. I was always attracted to that, commitment to excellence, that kind of stuff. Like, yes, you're speaking my language, and so I learned a lot. I learned a lot of great things, as a young woman coming out of high school, working for a Fortune 500 company like Delta Airlines, and then going and working for Saturn. And their core values were, I believe now, I know that from them, that's where I believe that I was raised under that. And so I'm so grateful for that. And you know, it was so good. You know, there's a lot of camaraderie and teamwork and things like that. And so now I know that's where a lot of my, you know, my stuff comes from, is from the companies that I worked for. So I'm very grateful to have been able to work for Delta and Saturn, you know, because they weren't just, they're a different kind of car company, you know. So it was a lot of fun. And then after that, I got married and somewhere in there, and then sort of life just sort of takes over. And, you know, you just, you know, I did other jobs like, you know, leasing and some other selling handbags and jewelry and things like that. But I never, you know, and then I was in church for a long time. So I had the opportunity to serve my church and the community in my church, right? And that's where I started realizing, wow, this is where I love people so much. And but then out of all that sort of came the coaching thing, because, you know, the coaching thing is kind of a new thing anyway. It's not even, it's been around, but for people to actually go out and pursue, you know, a career in coaching, that's, you know, that's still kind of new for people. So you still have to do the hard work of getting clients and things like that. So, but it's a good fit for me, although I don't do it nearly as much as I really would like to. I'd like to do it more. So, but then the whole IG thing came along, and I'm like, wow, what am I doing? Because this is, I love bringing people on and hosting and sharing their stories, like sharing the stories at a you know, at an entry level, right? Almost, it's like, okay, you've just started, you know what it feels like to succeed and to fail, and it's still so fresh that these are the stories, these are the things that people need to hear, because a lot of times, like, you know, like when someone's very successful, the conversation's different, right? The enthusiasm's different, the level of energy is different, and while there's tons of wisdom, you know, and lots of, I don't know, I just think that like you, like, it's, they don't get a, there's not a lot of platforms for people that are just starting out, and people have messages, they want to share what they're doing, and now with social media, you know, there's really no excuse, you know, we do need to be connecting people and sharing what people are doing, because we need them, we need people, we need their stories, we need their gifts, they have a purpose, and people need to hear what other people are doing. So I know.
It's great. No, and I totally agree. And I think you're right. And I think, you know, they get tons of exposure, but they work bloody hard to get there. Ooh, I just said bloody, but there you go. And they have worked really hard to get there. And that's the thing. Is
allowed to say bloody?
I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's just me. It's just me. Am I being, like, I don't know, P's and Q's? Anyway.
Okay.
So, yeah. So we've got, yeah. No, I totally get it, and I believe, you know, and I'm with you on that in terms of, you know, getting people to be able to share it, and people have got greatness inside them. I believe that, and it's just trying to get the confidence, getting them to find the confidence through those stories that other people are doing it, and they don't know what they're doing. They're just trying stuff, right? And I love that. I just love that. Like, I don't know really what I'm doing. I'm just going to go and give it a go, see what happens. I'm going to love the back of that. I love that. I just love that. And I think, you know, the fact you're being really honest about it, like, you know, this is how this podcast is born. We don't always do. It's like, get some microphones, get it up, right, what's going on? And now, you know, we're getting, the downloads are going up and up and up. What's going on? It's fantastic. But obviously there's challenges, and it's, you know, it's difficult, but it's good. And and I love, that's why I love it. Anyway, going back to your story, because this is about you, right? So let's go. We go from college, then we go to the airline, then we go to Saturn. That's right, Saturn. And then, because it's really interesting. And then so you got married? Did you have children? And then did you get the? I'm trying to place the ham job. The ham job. I'm trying to place it. Did the ham job come in that? Did the ham place come in this particular part of your life?
The ham store was not until actually just a few years ago.
Oh, okay. So the ham job was a few years ago.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So really recent.
Yes.
Really recent.
So
pretty
the ham
recent.
store was really, you know, it was, you know, when I needed to start going back to work after being home for many years with my children.
Yeah.
So I was doing the odds of jobs.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, I needed to go back to work.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so my ex-husband found that job for me.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah. And
Oh,
so
okay. Okay.
yeah. So and it was not, there wasn't, but I'm so grateful for that job, because if I
Mm,
hadn't done that job,
mm,
I wouldn't, I guess it probably wouldn't have taken me to where I am today. And I think what happens is you do things, if you do something you just hate, right? But you know you have to do it, it will put some fire underneath you to go pursue your dream. Like, and so I think a lot of times that's, you know, we need to do that more often, right? And I think that's where the whole fear thing comes from, and doing the hard thing. And you know, you will get some really good lessons out of doing things you don't want to do. And that's the whole, that is so true. And I'm so glad I did it. Yeah, because I'd probably still be there today if I'd had a good leader there, if there was if he was a really good leader, or she, and they invested time in me. And you know, I probably would still be there. So I'm very glad that I'm not there and can share that story, because if anything, it's taught me, don't wait. You know, I waited all those years, you know, before I started realizing that, you know, I have great potential to do something, still figuring it out. But don't wait. You've got to figure out who you are, who you really are. You've really got to discover what your core values are and how to align that with the job that you want later, or, you know, your career and those sort of things. And don't be afraid to, when you get into, you know, that position where you're going to apply for a job, you know, remember to ask, you know, a ton of questions about what this company is really about before you go and work for them, because they will disappoint you if you do not find this information out early. So you've got to do your homework. You know, so yeah, so I'm still learning who I am. I'm still learning what my strengths are. You know, I'm still learning, you know, what my gift is. And I really struggle with that, because even though people will say, oh, well, you have a gift of maybe community or something. I'm not even sure. I'm still trying to figure out how am I adding value? How am I going to add value to people? Because I love personal growth and leadership development stuff, but to really just have a conversation around that, I still tell myself, I don't know enough. I don't have enough knowledge. I don't have any, you know, I haven't been in an organization. Who am I to give any advice or encouragement about that? But I do know what I'm attracted to. I'm certainly attracted to culture and teamwork, and people, and the way they behave and why they behave that way, and how we can really help them behave, help them behave, but how we can help them be the best of themselves, or be able to bring the best of them in an environment where they are. Because you know, it's not fun when you're in an environment and you like the environment, but you can't really be yourself. You got to the best of who you are. And I don't know if that's even unrealistic in companies or organizations, but I don't think so. I think that's the direction it's going, right? I don't know. Am I rambling? Probably.
No, because it is. I mean, I think that's the future of organisations. I think organisations have to encourage people to be themselves, to be the best version of themselves. If they're trying to be someone they're not going to get the best out of that person, because they're using a lot of energy, too much energy, being someone they're not. And that's, and I've seen it a lot. And you have had experience, because you've seen good companies and how they work, right?
Yes.
You know what good looks like. And that, as some people have worked for organisations where they're just stuck and they don't know how to get out, and they haven't done that homework. I mean,
I forget that, Joe. Thank you for reminding me of that. I forget it. Sometimes I don't remember that I did come from that, you know, and just talking to you about it, because it's just me, you know, I'm just a one-man show over here. So having somebody to talk to, you know, about, that's why I hired a coach, because I need somebody that's, you know, I need to figure stuff out. So
yeah, absolutely. And it does help clarify things, especially about, things around, where you want to be, what's the things that you love, how you're going to put them in your life, what's the plan, and then having that action plan is absolutely, yeah, so what good leadership looks like, and what happened, and I think from what you said is that what poor leadership looks like. We've got the ham store. I'm going to use the ham. I'm going to use your language. The ham store.
thank you.
So and so we've gone to the ham store. We didn't like the ham store, did we? We didn't like the ham store. So we leave the ham store. And so the masterminds, I love this. So some people may not know what a mastermind is, right? I know what it is, and you know what it is. So do you just want to explain to our audience, you know, what was your mastermind? What is a mastermind? You tell us.
So my mastermind was, it was a man that he went into actually the workforce is what it's called, and it's a place where people that are looking for jobs. So that's what I had done. I had signed up to go to get help at the workforce, which is just your local government place where they help you with resumes and they help you with, you know, testing and, you know, things like that, and computer skills and things of that nature. And so I had signed up to, you know, get some help with my resume because I loathe anything that has to do with any sort of writing or anything. So I did that. And so they sent me an email and said, you know, would you be interested in coming to this mastermind? It was on the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. And so by John Maxwell. And so, yes, anything that has to do with growth, absolutely. So, and then just the word mastermind alone just was intriguing to me. And so, and it was free. And so, so I went, I had no idea what to expect. I had the book, the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. I had the book, and we went in, and there was about 10 of us or so. And we had read our chapters, and it was an opportunity for everyone that is like-minded to come in and share and talk on the chapter. And so the discussion was led by the facilitator, and he led the group, you know, asking questions, you know, and then people would just share their experience and their ideas and their thoughts based on, you know, the questions and anything else really that anybody wanted to share and what they were working on and that sort of thing. So really just, you know, a group of people that are working on something and getting together and sharing experiences and strengths and hopes and weaknesses and all of it, you know, around a particular topic usually. And it's a group that really, you can go 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, just depends on what the facilitator decides. But it was incredible. And I'm so glad that I did that. So really, I would encourage anybody that has an opportunity to do that or to lead one to go for it, because it can really help you immensely in your personal growth or your leadership development when you participate. You got to participate.
Yes,
but you're
definitely
getting a lot out of it.
Yeah, it's really good because, you know, masterminds, you can get together with like-minded people that are on the same path, and you just keep building. So it's really interesting. We know a couple of people have been part of a mastermind, don't we? We know Mark Drager and Evan Carmichael. They were in a mastermind, weren't they? And
Yes.
now look what they are, right? So, you know, Angela and I connected through that community, which is a fantastic community. I'd always encourage you to go check that out. But they were in part of a mastermind. I created one. So Lee, who runs a podcast, me, Lee, and someone else, we had a bit of a mastermind going between us because we're very like-minded, and we're totally different personalities. So Lee's quite a driver personality, and I'm quite, you know, the other way. But we complement each other, and we got Ryan now on board, who, you know, tells another angle, right? And we're all different ages. It's fantastic. And now we are sort of our little mastermind group. You know, 3 of us, right? A trio. We've got 3 of us. We bounce ideas. So that mastermind can be in any shape and size. It's just about you taking yourself to another level. How can we be better? What's the challenge? And I love that. So I would encourage it too. So mastermind, blew your mind. Right. Okay. Yeah. So how was the coaching business born? You know, what drove you to that? So you must have decided at some point, right, what is this coaching business about, right? What drove you to that? Like, because you must have been really focused, because it takes a lot of energy, doesn't it, to sort of build something like that. So what was the driver? Because I know you got the coaching business, and then I suspect IG Live, you know, with Angela came.
Yeah, I mean, the coaching thing is still unfolding. I mean, it's still not, I mean, it's very, you know, I'm still figuring that out too. But I think, you know, I thought because I wanted to, you know, do psychology. And I thought I wanted to have a psychology, agency. I wanted to hire the psychologists and then let them do the counseling and that sort of, and the therapy. Because I knew at that point I probably didn't want to go to school and get my psychology degree. I didn't want to go pursue that. And but coaching, John Maxwell was doing the training for coaching, and then I just felt like that was a good fit for my personality. And I am a very curious person. And when I started getting the training, I realized that this is where I need to be, is in the coaching. But people do all sorts of different, coaching, right? Evan does his way of coaching, everybody has their way of coaching. And so I think for me, that's what I'm still trying to figure out, is how am I going to do this in a way that adds value to my people, but also it stays true to who I am as a person and as a coach. I don't want that to be different. And so I'm still discovering that. So this is still so fresh and so new, just in this last couple of years. So I'm still figuring it all out as I go along.
So that's the fire, right? It's the serve. So you said earlier as well, which I really wanted to dig into, because I know we talked about your values, and you said that values, drive you. It will drive you. It will drive your business. It will drive your coaching. It will drive your IG lives. And you're so good on your IG lives. I love them. They're so engaging. When you come on, you start immediately engaging, and it just shows. You can just see from the expression that you are so interested in that person. I know I felt really valued when I've come on your IG live. So please go check them out, and we'll come back to that right at the end. But I wanted to sort of dig back into your one word, because I thought your one word would be love, but it's not, is it? You said you were doing some more work on that because you think it might have been another word, not love, because we talked about it didn't we? We talked about it. And I remember this conversation. And you said, Joe, what do you think? I think you said something like, Joe, what do you think my one word is? Because Evan's got his book called One Word, and you have to do an exercise, and he's got his other one called Built to Serve, and you've got to do the exercise. It repeats the exercise a little bit of a different context, but there's similar exercise in both books. So everyone knows what mine is, which is inspiration. I thought I'd take a punt. Punt means I guess. I don't know whether. At Andrew's, I reckon yours is love. And Andrew goes, no, it's not. This is what I've been looking at. And so, is there any more advance on that?
I think it's remind. And I haven't done maybe I should do the work. Maybe I should do the test right now.
Okay.
Maybe I should do the test.
That's on me. I'm taking that one for the team. It's on me, the question.
It would be real easy for me to say excellence, because I'm always like, you've got to serve, you got to just be excellent, in everything you do. That's got to be the mindset. Be excellent, be excellent. But I think because of my little mission, is to remind humans we're all human. It could be human, and it could be love, because that's kind of the message, right? Is to love everybody, right? That's real easy for me. But I think the word is remind, is that I think for me, we've got to be reminding one another that we're valuable. So under love, right? So within love is all this other stuff, right? Is human, is love, within love, there's all this stuff. So it's not even, that it's not love, because it is. But I think my one word is remind. And I guess maybe that could change. I should probably take the test. But I think it's remind, because I want others to walk away from me and feel as though anything that they struggle with, or anything that keeps them from doing the thing that they want to do, or that anything that's even positive, like I want people to be reminded that they are human, that we have failures, I don't know, I'm sort of just thinking all this out as you're asking me to, because it's still so new, and nobody's really asked me, so it's really sweet of you to ask me. Nobody asked me anything.
Don't worry, I will ask you lots. That's my
Yes, please ask me, because it's the only way I'm going to figure stuff out. And yeah, I don't know. And it's almost like, do I need an affirmation for the word remind? And I don't think I do. I don't think so. I think that's it, is to remind that we're all human, and the word is remind, because it's in memories, right? It's in. Okay, so when I think about reminding someone, we do it a lot, and we don't think we even realize how often we do it. it's in memories, it's in remembering, right? It's like, oh, did you call so and so? Or I don't know, I don't even really know how to explain this, but more so like, when you, I guess it's maybe even the feeling of that. I don't know, Joe. I'm sort of just kind of thinking. So um, it's like when someone says something kind to you, well, it reminds you of that you're valuable. Or when you watch something on Netflix or something, and you watch it and you attach to that through a feeling, that reminds you that you're human. When you notice the sky is so beautiful, well, that brings a feeling to you to remind you that that beauty is something that is within. It's right there. That's for you. You're human. That was made for you. I don't know. It's just little things like that. And I think it's important for us to remember, because for me especially, so much self-doubt and all that. But I have to remember that it's okay, that yes, you have failures, you have struggles, but you're human. So let me remind you that you're not alone, right? Let me remind you that there are people there for you. Let me remind you that you can change. People, let me remind you that you are important enough to invest in yourself. Just little things like that, those little reminders that remind us that, we're important, we are human, and that we are going to make mistakes, and we're going to have successes, and we're going to have bad days, and we're going to have good days. And it's important for us to be intentional. I think that too is like, I was never told ever in my life, you've got to be intentional about your growth, because if you're not, you won't grow, right? You'll just sort of drift, and that's not good. So, again, it's a reminder. I've got to we need to be reminded, you are okay. And you know what? If you're not okay, that's okay too. But I'm going to be here for you. I'm going to remind you that I'm here on the other side, and I'm going to be here for you. It's just those little things that that make us human that we forget. And yeah, so I think it's I really do.
Yeah, and I
Maybe I
think
should.
there's a lot of power in that, because we do, don't we? We can get just caught up in the busyness of life and not reflect. We can just get caught up day to day. Get up, go to work, come home, pay the bills, come home, watch TV, go to sleep, get up. That whole, what everyone calls photocopying, what I call just the treadmill. A lot of people are on that. Tons of people are on that treadmill, just paying the bills to survive, right? What we're trying to say is remind people that, hey, look, you need to wake up. This is your life, right? Be intentional, remind yourself. And I love that message, because a lot of us need, a lot of us, and people know my story on the podcast, that I had a big wake up call, and I want people to avoid what I went through. I don't want them going through what I went through. And so you went through difficulties and failures and things like that. So I suppose I'm going to ask you, it's probably quite a difficult question, but I'm going to ask you don't have to answer. Okay. I'm just going to ask you one thing, because I love reminding. I think it's super powerful the way you explained it. Like, remind yourself you're enough. Remind yourself you can do difficult things. Remind yourself that you are more than enough. Remind yourself it's okay to not be okay. I love that. I think I wish someone had told me that when I was going for a really difficult time. To have that sounding board. So my question to you is, can you tell me a really difficult time you went through and how you got through it?
A really difficult time that I went through and how I got through it.
Yeah, how you got through it to now. Yeah.
The only way I've gotten through anything is by the grace of God. I mean, faith is big for me. I don't start my day without it. I'm asking God for just his grace, which he gives daily. I'm very grateful for for having a relationship with God. I do feel very close to God. Anything that's difficult in my life, it's all the things that most people just sort of, always say, right? It's whether it's your faith, family, friends, asking for the help that you need. We can't do things alone. We're not meant to do things alone. There may be times when, we will want to sit and feel, sad or trying to figure things out. And but I think, I know for a fact, I mean, the divorce is probably the hardest thing that I've ever gone through. I had so much support through that, from just a few other people that got me through. I mean, one whole year of conversation every single day with the same three people every single day, trying to get through that. And I don't think it's ever anything you really ever get through, but certainly that's what's helped me. That reaching out, having that support has been vital. But God is always my peace. That's where my peace comes from, is from God. And yeah, so I'm very grateful for the life I have and the people that I have in my life, and what I get to do. And I just want to help people. I mostly, more than anything in this world, all I want to do is be able to encourage someone that whatever is going on inside of your little heart, whatever that is, whatever that deep desire is that you are wrestling with, that's passion. That's a feeling that you've got to explore. Don't dismiss it. Don't think that it's just a dream that you can't have. You have to it's okay to, draw that out, share it with somebody safe, and start exploring that, because that is a purpose inside of you that someone needs to hear from you. Someone needs to, it's not necessarily about you. You've got it. You've got that gift, but it's for somebody else. So I think that's what makes the world go around. And so I am that reminder. I'm that person that wants to remind people, to remind humans we're all human, and that whatever's going on, it's okay. Don't be afraid of that, what's going on inside of your heart. It's time to share it. It's time to share it. So, yeah.
I love that, because we talked about what was difficult for you in the divorce, and you got through that, and you got that whole connection with God, and like you're really passionate, and it's you really feel that connection. And then you got this whole thing, which I'm going to ask you another question, but you answered the question within the question, because I could say what inspires you, and it's about bringing that out, having that passion in your heart and sharing it. So I was going to say, what would you say to our audience to inspire somebody? And you just answered that. You should let it out to someone, speak to someone. I think it also couples with the fact about a difficult time. You had a support network, and so if you are having a difficult time, I think you're saying to people, correct me if I'm wrong, you tell me if I'm wrong, like find someone, a trusted person you can go and tell. Now, some people haven't got anybody, so there's organisations you can reach out to. In the UK, there's definitely is, and I expect in America, there's charity organisations you can reach out to, speak to someone. And so I think that's what you're saying to me, right? Is that have I got that right? Have I missed anything out?
No, yes, no, that is right. If you're hurting, right, then you've got to reach out. I mean, don't hold on to that hurt. Don't hold, if you're in pain, if you're struggling, in any sort of way where you're just really struggling and you're really hurting, it's real easy for me to say, reach out, right? Because I'm not in that place right now. But there are so many, places that you can reach out. Get a therapist, find somebody to talk to. I mean, if you're in a lot of pain. I think, yeah, it's not, again, it just goes back to, it's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to stay there. Don't stay there, and also, like, whatever it is that's going on in your heart, you're not alone. You are human. We all have things that we've dealt with before. Whatever you're going through, most likely, someone has gone through the same thing that you're going through right now, and you're going to be okay. But just come on out and take the courage to step out of that, because on the other side of that is something really great for your life. And and we believe in you. I believe in you. I believe whatever is going on inside of you, for me, it's like, if you're held back, there's a real great purpose on the other side of that. So you have to remember that, whatever's holding you back, and I believe, that's just the enemy, but whatever that's pulling you down, that, that's because there's something super great that's going on in your life, really. And you got to fight through that, because the good stuff is on the other side of that. So yeah, don't let that hold you down.
It's on the other side of fear. Love that. And it's really interesting. You remind me of a moment where I felt I was alone in my dark moment. I didn't think anyone else was going through what I was going. And it's only till my mum brought me a book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers that opened my eyes to that. I'm not alone. Oh my God, this goes on with other people. The self-talk you're talking about. You're not good enough. You're no good. All that rubbish that we talk to ourselves and put ourselves down. A lot of people experience it. And I didn't realise that. I thought, well, everyone has this voice, because I thought I was the only one. And the way you said that was beautiful, because that's right. Everyone has that voice. And it's how you deal with that voice or push on the other side of fear. And that's why that book resonated with me massively. And that's when I got in the self-development space, all because of that. And it's, yeah, anyway. And I just think it was great. So I was going to ask you another question about IG Live with Angela and your coaching. So what's the big vision for your coaching and IG Live with Angela? I want to hear the biggest vision ever for what you're doing, because who says this has got to be big and scary. We've got a common person in our community who tells us this all the time. So what is it? What's the impact you want to make?
Well, I don't know. Is it selfish? Well, is this a selfish motive? I would love to own Instagram. I'd like to really own that. I would like to.
When you say own it, do you mean speak to Mark Zuckerberg?
Yeah, yes.
Mark, give me Instagram right now. You need to give it to me. Is that what you're telling me?
No, I have to earn it, I guess,
Yeah.
I guess like the impact for IG Live with Angela, it goes back to like the to remind humans we're all human. That's what all I want to do. But I'd love to continue to host that. I'd love to see that, turn into a real show of, people, entrepreneurs coming on, my love for personal growth and leadership development. I mean, I'd love to bring people on that can add value to others in that way. I would love that. I would love to, to really to own that. I would love to be able to do that in a way that really adds value. So, I sit around and think about things like, so yesterday I was at a restaurant, right? And I'm sitting there and the television is on the wall and they're showing sports or something. They're talking about, they had the captions on the bottom and they were talking about, I think, Babe Ruth and some different ball players and talking about baseball. And all I saw was more televisions on either side, which is ridiculous because we really don't need more televisions anywhere. But this is my thinking, is to have, oh boy, I'm going to just share it with you, to have IG Lives of people sharing, but we get to see, these people that are communicating and you can tap in and listen. And I don't know, I just don't know how that would, but that's what I was thinking about. I'm like, oh my gosh, it would be so awesome if we could visually see these lives taking place, right? We don't hear them unless we tap into them, but we see them taking place. And just these conversations, these organic conversations of people across the globe, getting to know one another, listening to one another as they share their stories, sharing their hopes, their dreams, their desires, their faith, whatever it is that they want to share, and just communicating with someone that is like-minded, but also that maybe isn't like-minded, but actually listening to these conversations. I would love that, to have an option to listen to certain people, to just say, hey, I would love to hear that conversation. I want to hear this conversation. And I love the lives because they're so, they're not rehearsed, they're just, they're organic and they're from the heart. And, it's just real. And we get the, I don't know people from across, I'm on my IG lives right now, I'm getting people from Pakistan and Turkey and Ukraine. I mean, what other opportunity would I have ever been able to have to speak to someone from these countries? I'm so blessed to meet these people. And then for them to share, I want to even share more. Like, I'm doing it for 30 minutes and I'm like, wait, can you just go outside and walk around and show me, what, can I meet your family? Can you tell me how you feel about Americans? How do you feel about women? Because gosh, Lord knows that the difference in cultures and things like that, and how our governments tell us one thing, but what is really the reality of our lives and stuff. And it's so important. It's such an important thing to be able to, we need to know more. And so I feel really blessed that, Evan encouraged me to do lives every day. I know, I feel like I haven't really done, I'm still bad. I battle a lot with not doing the right thing and perfectionism and things like that. So it's like, I'm probably not doing anything of what Evan thought maybe this would be, but that's okay, because it is happening. Whatever's happening, I have to believe in my heart that it's touching somebody, and it's growing me, and I'm meeting these amazing people. And so there is good out of it. So whatever comes next has to be, I need help. I do know that. I want help. Not real sure who to ask for the help. That's why I'm asking for a coach right now, because I'm hoping to talk through and out, through some things. But I just want to help as many people as I possibly can. I'd love to be able to talk to as many people as I possibly can, and encourage as many people as I can through the IG lives. I love it so much. So, yeah. And it's not anything I ever thought in a million years that I would ever be able to do, not to talk to people, because I can do that, but it's the lives, that's scary, is to have conversations, live. And so I don't know, I'm still learning, still growing, and I'm so grateful, so I don't know, it's good stuff. I'm very grateful to be here with you, Joe. Thank you. I wouldn't have met you. I wouldn't have met you if we hadn't gotten on kind of these, you on the other side of your stuff, me on the, the other side of my stuff. I mean, it's just, what a blessing, to be able to meet other people that are, gosh, there's a lot of us. I think that's the other part of me that's surprised and shocked to see, wow, there are a lot of people out there that have gone through, and that's it, right? The whole community, the whole globe of people, my person from Ukraine and my person from Pakistan, they are human beings just like Joe and I, and have go through the same things. And if we can share more of that together, then we could have, I believe there would be just a greater sense of just justice and just love and peace and goodness and kindness. And I think that there's always going to be darkness, but I think right now we really need each other. And it's not, it's not just the people that are in my community or at my church or at my club, that's great. But we have got to start reaching out to the people that are, we've got to start reaching out to people that aren't like us, and be willing to, do what it takes to listen and to share, to be vulnerable, to be authentic about our struggles, what we believe in, asking them questions, what do they believe in, and being okay with their answer. Because oftentimes we're just like, well, no, I don't believe that, so we can't be friends. No, it's okay if someone has a different idea or religion or they do different things than you do. It's still important for us to listen and share and embrace each other. So I don't know.
Great. I mean, I see IG Live going global. That's what I see. And you going talking all over the world, maybe virtually at the moment. But that's what it sounds like to me. Yeah, I love that, a concept that you could just choose a conversation, but actually people connecting in a genuine way, and the way it's structured, that there will be no judgment in that conversation. It'll be a force for good, and providing I imagine people aren't hurting each other, then that's a great conversation. And the intention to serve, I think you're right, like the intention to serve others, and by the conversation it serves others, then that's a good thing to bring into the world, into the universe, or whatever you want to call it. And to recognise that everyone's human. And I think that's what you bring. I think you bring it in spades. I mean, you bring it in masses of it. You bring it in loads and loads of information, togetherness. What you just said there was great. It was really good. So the inspiring vision is to take over Instagram and own Instagram. So I'm looking forward to seeing that happen. Very looking forward to seeing that happen. And I'm glad I got you now, because I don't think I'm going to get anywhere near Angela's live when that does happen. So I'm sure she'll get me on just for 5 minutes or something. I love that, Angela. It's lovely. And I just wanted to sort of finish off, I suppose, because I think that was a lovely finish. And I think it was, your inspiring message for people to be them true selves, to remind themselves, the struggles you've been through, you've had your own struggles. And I think it's important that people understand the journey, that we all have these voices, we all have these struggles, different levels of different people, but our problems are our problems, right? And they're our problems to solve, and we can reach out. And I certainly believe that it's like these problems are designed for me to learn something. Like you say, like the ham store for you, and even things like, the difficult things we go through, like my depression, your divorce, these things, they're not nice. They're horrible things, but we learn so much from them, and how we can be greater and bigger. And you know what? Thanks for sharing all that. I really do appreciate it, because I know I wasn't sure where to ask that question, and it was really brave of you to answer that. So I just want to say thank you for that. So I just want to say to everyone, please go and visit Angela. So I just want to say, Angela, where do people find you? Where to connect with you? If they don't want to IG live with you, what do they need to do, etc., etc. What do people need to do? Where do they find you?
So I'm really, my favorite place to be in the world is on Instagram.
Of course.
So at IG Live with Angela. I would love to connect with you there. I would love to get to know you. I'd love to go live with you. I'd love to hear about what you're doing and why you're doing it. But more importantly, I'd love to hear about who you are and what you're all about, and what makes you you.
Lovely. And it's been great to get to know more about you, and I really appreciate you sharing your story with us. It was fantastic. So we'll do another catch up at some time. I'm sure we'll catch up at some point. So thanks, I appreciate it. It's been great.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. This is so much fun. Thank you for letting me just sort of talk things through, and I appreciate that very much. Thank you so much for having me.
You're more than welcome. Okay, guys, that was Angela. So don't forget, you catch her on Instagram at IG Live with Angela. Just go catch her there. And actually just ping her a message. You want to get on there, please connect. Please go on there, get the live done. Help her take over Instagram. That's what we need. So I just want to say one thing, so we know we sign off people, don't we? It says, Inspiration Nation. We'll catch you guys later. If you enjoyed that video, I'm sure you'll love this video over here. It's an interview I did with Lucy Laker of the Freedom Free Store. Also brilliant if you would subscribe, so you know when my next video goes live. So go catch it, Inspiration Nation, and I'll see you there.